So let's talk about the 2024-2025 season and some takeaways. So initially, once we got like halfway through the season, I was like, OKC is gonna break away and make a push for the finals. And I, honest to God, did not expect the Pacers to throw themselves in the mix at least that deep into the run. Um,
I was very surprised by that as well. I really was I was a big time Cavs believer because I just thought that the with with the offense that they were running through Darius Garland as the primary ball handler, I thought that that was like really a good recipe for success. And I mean, part of the reason why they did get beaten in the playoffs by the Pacers is because of injury. But looking back at it, I think it would have been a pretty close series and possibly a Pacers win either way. So
Oklahoma
I don't think that's
City
like the
stayed
main
rather
reason.
healthy though, didn't they? I didn't really pay attention too much to the West, but I remember that. I didn't really. I think Chet had an injury somewhere in there, but it wasn't like super bad.
It wasn't major. I don't at least as far as I know. Although Chet did play really bad, I think for the second half of the
Mm.
postseason, especially the finals. Although he had a good few blocks in that game seven. Although
Dude's got
that game
hops.
seven is
Dude's got
yeah,
hops.
that game seven was a little like, and I'm not saying this to discredit the ring in any way, but that game seven obviously is not what it would have been had Tyrese Halliburton
Mm-hmm.
not gone down with an Achilles tear like 7 minutes into the game.
So, how much? How many points did he put up before he went
He
out?
had he had 9 points. He was
Nine
three
and
for five
seven's
with 20
crazy.
threes.
I guess they were running
Yeah,
their
no,
offense through him, weren't they? And then once he was out, they just didn't have a
yeah.
plan.
I think it's interesting because I used to be a lot of like I used to have this idea that I thought the Indiana Pacers were just gonna get wrecked in the
I did
finals,
too.
and I
I
thought
I I didn't expect 7 games, four, maybe five.
yeah, I was very surprised by that, and I think ultimately, being a Knicks fan, I was a little, I was a little hurt after the whole
Because if they're gonna beat
thing went
your team,
down.
you're gonna want them to win the whole thing. Because then there's there's
I
some there's some like there's some like justice in there. You're like, they
there is
beat
some
me, but they were
dignity
the
in
best, so it's
losing to the
okay.
champions. Although I personally, I don't know. I just had like a thing against I always had a thing against like that stereotypical like true point guard archetype
Mm.
that I think Tyrese Halliburton is something that people like look at him as like the modern archetype of the true point guard, and I think in the modern NBA, scoring point guard is more of like
Right.
a viable
You
first
you want
option. So I've always
points.
been
You
kind
want
of
points, not passes in the
yeah.
modern day
Not that
NBA.
you don't want points, not passes, but the thing is, a lot of like being an effective playmaker is not just making plays for your teammates. It's making plays for yourself because
Mm.
that creates your scoring gravity also dictates how valuable, and how well you're going to be able to create opportunities for your teammates. Because like if you swing the ball out to like a couple guys and they get like semi contested shots, right? And you get like at the end
That's
of the game you
that's
have like
nothing,
18
right?
points.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the game you get 18 points, 11 assists,
You're
right?
just you're just hucking spaghetti up at the wall and seeing what sticks.
And then you compare that to a player who gets 32 and 7 or 32 and 6
Mm-hmm.
with and those 6 assists he was getting like double team, triple teamed at the 3-point line or the paint and kicks it out to an open shooter and they get a wide open 3. And that's like what the assist that you're talking about. You're talking about because not all assists are, I believe, valuable in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously on the stat sheet they're going to show up the same, but like if we're really looking at like true like value created,
There's a difference between like an alley oop lob in transition and then like, as you said, a kick out three from like
yeah.
a double team. Like there's like one of those has a higher rate of success than the other,
Although
so
I
the
think
numbers are
the thing
skewed.
that sets Halliburton apart is that he is one of those like special playmaking talents that's truly good enough at passing to like regularly create offense out of nowhere with just a pass.
Right. That's actually,
And
I'm looking at my notes and I wrote Pacers have no him. I assume Tyrese Halliburton was their guy.
I think
I'm not big on the Pacers. I don't know too much about the Pacers.
Tyrese Halliburton was, I think, somewhat like he's definitely the first option offensively. I would say that it's almost like a similar team formula to like a 2025 Celtics type of team. Obviously, I don't think they were as good as the 2025 Celtics, or else They probably that's the 2024 Celtics.
Hmm.
I mean, um, they weren't as good as the 2024 Celtics, but it's the same idea where it's like you don't necessarily have a number one guy who's like way ahead of the rest of the team.
Hmm.
Because I would say Jason Tatum is the number one guy on
Oh,
the Celtics,
absolutely.
but he's not miles and miles ahead of Jaylen Brown. And I think it's in the same way that Tyrese is the best player on the Pacers, but he's not miles and miles ahead of Pascal Siakam.
I got a first round pure glimpse of the Pacers as a Magic fan, or not the Pacers, excuse me, the Celtics as a Magic fan, and they were not fun to watch. I'm gonna be completely
The
honest. I did
Celtics
not
shoot.
enjoy their pass to the 3 point line, fucking chuck it up play
Yeah,
style.
the Joe Mazzulla offense. They really like shattered the record, if I remember correctly, for
They did.
most league
They did
taking
it
this
against the
season.
Magic. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I'm
I
pretty
mean
sure they
they
did
did
it
it.
against the Magic, like game three or no, game four, because I think Magic won game three.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, and then they had a game in the playoffs. I don't remember if it was Magic or Knicks
Mm.
where they set the record for most three pointers missed in an NBA game ever.
It was the Magic. I remember that game. I remember that game
Oh yeah,
distinctly.
yeah, that was the Magic. Yeah,
I remember
yeah,
that game distinctly. That was the
that
one
was
we
a
won. That
horrible
was the
watch.
one game we won.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Oh
the
my god.
Magic, let's segue into some trades. The biggest one, at least from the past 3 days, because it's only been 3 days of trading so far, is the Desmond Bain trade. Now, I like this because I'm a Magic fan. I liked Cole Anthony. Okay, let's recap. The Magic sent Cole Anthony and Kentavious Caldwell Pope, and some draft picks, I think, to the Grizzlies for Desmond Bain. Is that a good trade? I think it's a
I
good trade.
I think it's a good trade. What was the package again?
We got Bane. Grizzlies got Cole Anthony, Caldwell Pope, and like a few like first round draft picks, like two, I think.
I wait. Was it? I thought it was four.
It might have been four. Let's do a little
I'm
quick
pretty sure it
Google
was
search.
four.
Desmond Bane trade. Only okay. Four unprotected first round picks up until 2030, and a first
Okay.
round pick swap in 2029.
Okay.
Thanks
So
AI.
I think because I remember I saw four.
Mm,
I think it's a good move basketball wise. Although I think giving up that much first round like draft capital, no matter who you're getting,
mhm.
is always a gamble.
Well, let's take a look at who the Magic have right now. Their core is young. Those are some boys right there. Those are some young boys just balling out. Like Paolo Banchero, I think he's like 22, 23.
Yeah,
Franz Wagner is
I
early 20s. Like and that's a young core, and when you have like this team that we've built, literally have built from draft picks and just fucking getting lucky, um, is young. And so I feel that the Magic have really invested in this young core. And for the past few seasons, like you saw that with the Joe Ingles trade and having him in there, even Corey Joseph last season, um, they wanted some maturity and some
yeah
guidance for the kids. And now that they've gotten that, they're like, oh, let's bring in a point guard who can chuck threes up and knows how to play point guard. And that's what the
yeah
Magic have been missing. I think for like
I
3 seasons we've been the lowest 3 point or like in the bottom three for like the entire
yeah,
season 3 point
it's
shooting
not
percentage.
not great 3 point shooting from the Magic the past few years. I think what's I think the Bane move is great for it's going to be really good for their spacing.
I agree.
Obviously, I mean he's one of the best shooters in the league. But I mean I think this is a it's an important move because now this move very much relies on the young core getting better without like major setbacks or
Yeah.
injuries or people not panning out. And I think if it goes well, the Magic can definitely become like a contender sooner rather than later.
Hmm.
Like maybe even like
Next
2 years down the
next three
line, I
years,
would
yeah.
say. I would say because I think anytime you get like a new player in a trade, a lot of times that first season doesn't quite go particularly well. You saw with the Gobert trade to
Mm.
Minnesota, everyone was like after immediately the first year after they were like this team fucking sucks, and then the next year they're in the Western Conference Finals. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you look at like even Cole Anthony. Like Cole Anthony now is a veteran, right? and like he was
Yeah.
so inconsistent with his shooting, and Caldwell Pope was too, and we got rid of two veterans for like just some guy.
Yeah, I do think KCP is he
I didn't
still
I
I
didn't
haven't
like
followed
him
KCP much since he was like he was a good like decent like defensive role player off like
on the
for
Nuggets.
Denver
Yeah, and
2 years,
that's why the
yeah,
Magic
on their
picked him up because
championship
they're like
team.
he fits our modum operandi, which is defense first,
Yeah.
and he can shoot the ball. I think he had like one or two games this season over 20 points. But I feel like that's
Yeah, I
because
mean,
I know too much about the Magic, and excuse me for rambling about this, but I feel like that's because we were facilitating through Franz and Paolo, and he just didn't get touches, basically.
yeah, but I mean, he's not really a creator
Mm-mm.
that much. He's more of
Off the
like
ball
a off
movement.
the ball play finisher. But I think that if there's anything that could the two things I think that could go wrong for in this trade is
Mm-hmm.
that either the defensive impact of KCP might be a little bit like more noticeable when he's gone
Yeah,
in terms of like that decline,
because Desmond
because
Bain, I've
I
heard
don't think Desmond Bain
he got
is
small arms, bro. He got T-Rex arms.
he's not he's not a bad defender, but he's not like
He's not
KCP
big.
was a pretty like solid like KCP was definitely like a solidly positive defender, and I don't think that you can really say like that Desmond Bain is like.
How
I mean,
tall
I'm
is
not
he?
sure.
Desmond Bain's six
Desmond Bain is
five. Like that's
Desmond Bain is 6'5".
that's like eh.
He's not, but he's not like one of those guys who's like because the reason why KCP is in the league is because he's a good defender,
Yeah.
right? He's not particularly elite at much else.
No,
Um,
I certainly didn't see
Desmond
any of that.
Desmond Bain is is a shooter. He has plenty of other upside. Although I obviously do think the more likely scenario is that the massive increase in spacing from having Desmond Bain on your team as the point guard is going to far outweigh the
Yeah.
defensive decline from KCP not being in the lineup.
I also forgot about Jalen Suggs. Because he was out for
Jalen
like the
Suggs.
second half of the season with like who knows what miscellaneous nonsense. That
Wait,
guy is a
also, wait,
beast. I think he's
how
like
old was Cole Anthony?
Cole Anthony. I think he's like
Because
24
that was one of
now.
the people that was traded for Bain,
Yeah,
right?
Cole Anthony is 25.
Yeah, I just remember Cole Anthony had like real early years had a lot of hype,
Hmm.
and then I just feel like he just didn't really pan out in a way that fits with the scheme of what this Magic team is going for.
He's had some
So I
really great moments, but he previous to this trade was the player we've had the longest. We've had him
yeah
since 2018, 2019, something like
yeah
that. Like, dude, dude, dude's been in the league for a hot minute, and it doesn't seem like he has because he hasn't really progressed. He kind of
yeah
plateaued and just kind of like,
he came in pretty decent, got like better 1 or 2 years, and
mm.
then just stayed at like that
And
like
stayed at mediocre.
that decent level of like decent NBA player, but didn't make. I don't think he's made any strides past that in terms of like basketball ability.
He had like a 38 point game this season in the playoffs, I think, and that was
He
like
has,
it.
m- but
He can
it's
do
sort
it.
of like it's the same thing that I get with like Jalen Green, I think, or and some of these other guys where it's like the potential will occasionally shine through, and they'll have a game where it really looks like they're about to break through.
Hmm.
Like Jalen Green for the past like 2 years, end of the season he's just like hooping like crazy, and then you know you come around to the next season and it's just like you're like, okay, this is when he's finally gonna pan out, and it
Hmm.
just doesn't happen.
I want
And
I want to circle back around to the trade that the Desmond Bain trade. Um,
yeah,
are the Grizzlies rebuilding? What do we think about that? I think
I think the
maybe.
I feel like the Grizzlies are probably rebuilding. I just don't see how I don't see how that move makes you immediately better.
Yeah,
I feel like that move is a move that makes you immediately a little bit worse.
because you get
But
two like veterans who can teach a young core,
yeah,
but you need a young core.
the only way I see that they're not wouldn't be rebuilding is if they're planning on flipping that draft capital into other players
Hmm.
and doing more trades this deadline. But that's just like I just don't think that that's likely for them to do.
I even heard I was doing some cursory Google searches yesterday, and I heard some Kevin Durant rumors of him going to the Grizzlies. But the Suns, or I read today, sent him to the Rockets, or yesterday sent him to the
Yeah.
Rockets.
I heard the Cavs made an offer for him that included Darius Garland. Although I don't think Kevin Durant himself would agree to a Cavs trade.
Because Kevin Durant is one of the players in the league who gets to play where he wants.
Yeah,
He's one of like three or four.
I think one of the things with the Kevin Durant trade is that the best offer was probably from Cleveland,
Hmm.
but I just don't think that would have happened for obvious reasons. I don't think Kevin Durant would have wanted to go in there,
Yeah.
especially with the history that LeBron James has with the team
Yeah, he does like
and sort
that's
of
his thing.
the narrative. Because Kevin Durant, we'll be honest, Kevin Durant's on Twitter. He
I'm
sees the
Kevin
narrative.
Durant. You know who I am.
He's one of the few NBA players where you can solidly say not. I mean, it's going to be more in the coming years with like that the league is becoming more Gen Z.
Hmm.
But he's one of the few players from that generation where you're like, oh, this guy's on Twitter and he sees the shit that we're saying about him.
It's really funny you mention that because I'm gonna return to my radio broadcasting days and do a NASCAR segment at the bottom of the hour. NASCAR is getting really interesting with their social media presence. Have you seen Carson Hocevar's TikToks? I'll have to send them to you. They're
I've not.
so fucking funny. The dude's on iRacing whipping around Daytona with one hand eating a fucking like McChicken with the other. I'm like, what? Like Gen Z is coming into the workforce in all forms, and it's starting to be noticeable, and I honestly fuck with it. I think Gen Z is just especially when it comes to social media, like they're on top of it when it comes to branding.
Yeah, yeah.
The Orlando
What were we
Magic
talking about?
Twitter
Friday.
last
I forgot what we were talking about basketball wise.
we're on NASCAR now. Get with it.
We're on NASCAR.
No, the Orlando Magic's social media director is pretty fucking funny.
Mm.
There's this clip
I
of the I think it was a French beauty queen, and it's her going France, and every time France does something, they post just that video.
the I haven't really the Knicks social media is kind of it's a little like I feel like the best part of it is just like the funny shit that happens between like that core that was in college together because they have like a lot of chemistry and I think some of the personal stories and because they have one of them has like a podcast they have a like Josh Hart and I think Jalen Brunson have a podcast and I'm not gonna lie some of those clips are pretty funny but I think the actual New York Knicks like organization social media is dropping the ball a little bit.
Yeah. Are they
Like they
shooting
could
Bing
be doing
Bong?
a little better. They're doing like kind of outdated jokes and shit. And also like I mean I don't know some of the music that they play in the arenas sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just
I love the
ooh.
Magic's PA. The PA guy, I don't know his name unfortunately, but he retired at the end of this year. And at the end of the last home game in the playoffs, because he was like, yeah, they're not coming back here for this season. Um, he does like okay, I'm just like fucking mixing this up. Disney sponsors the Magic. Disney Magic, well, crazy. Um, and because of that, the Magic get to play Disney clips at their arena. And because Disney owns Star Wars, they do the stand and cheer for the fourth. And he was so into it. I was like, that's my boy. I've been listening to him for 10 years. I'm gonna miss him. I'm really excited to see what the Magic do with their next PA guy. I'm excited
Yeah.
to see how that
You know what that
transitions.
just reminded me about? That just reminded me about the New York Knicks coaching situation. I
What's that?
actually
What's
don't
that?
know if they found a coach,
Because they
but
fired
I was
Nurse,
like,
right?
no, it was Thibodeau.
Thibodeau, my bad.
That was yeah, but they fired Coach Thibodeau, and I was like, okay, cool. Like they fired Coach Thibodeau. I think Coach Thibodeau was not getting everything he could offensively out of this roster. I don't even think he was getting close to that. I think a different offensive system, like a system ran by an offensive coach, is proficient as the one on the Pacers or the Cavs,
Mm-hmm.
for example, would have brought this New York Knicks team to like close to 60 wins, or if not 60 wins
Right.
this season. But I think that this New York team, because Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, all in the starting lineup, those are all very competent like playoff scorers.
Right. They can do it.
And those are each somebody who you can like say they could get me 30 in a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that the New York Knicks have like a decent playoff offense is like you want more than decent out of that roster. When you have
Oh,
that much offensive
absolutely.
talent, especially with how much the GM gave up to get those guys, you want more than decent.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, we fired Coach Thibodeau. That's cool. That's cool. And then they like haven't hired anyone yet because they fired him with no replacement plan.
Where the
I'm like,
fuck? Where the
you
fuck is
can't like
Clifford? I forgot his name. His first name, Coach Clifford. He was, I think he was on the Hornets.
I don't know.
Steve Clifford.
I
Steve
don't follow
Clifford.
coaching that much unless it's like teams that I'm super invested in.
Steve Clifford
Or if it's
was
like
the head coach of the Magic for a while, and that man, throughout the game, only got procedurally more and more red.
I feel like Tom Thibodeau does the same thing but with baldness.
Well, he's
He
bald
like
too. He's just a bald red guy, and he just yells and like I haven't seen this man's face in a while, and I'm looking at Google Images. Oh my god, what a dude, what a guy, what a guy. He's just like
yeah.
there's some of these images are like him normally, and some of them I'm gonna send to you right now. Like he's just red. He's just procedurally more and more red as the game goes on from all the yelling.
Hold on,
Like
let me tap into this.
man's a
Oh my god,
lobster.
bruh.
I
He
mean,
looks like
yeah, like here's
what's
here's a picture of him. I'll edit this later. I'll post Steve Clifford, but here's him normally, and then there's him with all his yelling red face going on.
yeah. He looks like
He looks like
fuck. Actually, that's
Butterbean.
too rude. I was saying he looks red like RFK Jr.
He does. Do you think they eat beef
No, but
tallow?
RFK Jr. has actually gotten to the point where he's more red than that. Like RFK Jr.
He's more
like
blood vessel than man.
yeah, no, I saw a picture of RFK Jr. where his face just looked like a bruise. It was horrible.
So the Lakers are looking for a center. What do you know about that?
Wait, what do I know about
You don't
that?
know anything about the Lakers looking for a center. I read this yesterday
I
and I was
know
like,
I know a
Sam must
decent
know.
amount about the Lakers, but I don't know about their finances and their roster situation. I just know who they have on the team generally and what went wrong for them in the postseason. But
When do you think LeBron's gonna fucking hang it up, dude? Like,
I think LeBron's got another year before he just hangs it up.
is he
Like
gonna
I
hang
think
it up
in
or is he gonna
theory,
fucking collapse under like the pressure of his disgustingly large basketballs?
I think
I think
LeBron
I think he's gonna stay healthy. I think he'll be okay.
I think he's gonna hang it up in a year because I think he I don't know. I mean I've been saying this for like
Yeah,
a
everyone's been
while
saying
now.
this for like the past 3 years. Oh, he's got one more year, and he's got one more year. But like, let's be real. Let's be
But
realistic here.
if we're being honest about what he could do, I think he could be like a decent role player at like even like assuming he doesn't get like an Achilles tear or an
Yeah.
ACL tear because I think either one of those is like the end of LeBron.
Oh,
If he
absolutely.
tears his ACL or Achilles, it's over for him.
Dude is 40 years old. He'll be
Yeah, I
41
think
this year.
he could go 4 more years as like he could even go like 5 more years as a starting level player.
That's
If he
insane
was
to me. That's insane to me
if
just
he
to
was
think about
if
that.
he was okay with being a 15 point per game third option taking a salary cut, he could play at like
5 6.
45 years old.
Yeah, 5 6 more
I'm
years.
not going to lie.
But I don't think he's
I
going to do
that might
that.
be a hot take from me,
I think
but
prime LeBron is gone, but I think he still has
oh,
I think he still has what it takes, you know?
I think prime LeBron has been gone since 2024.
Yeah,
I know
I agree.
2024 was one of his better years in terms of like shooting. Like that was his first year. He shot over 40% on like over 8 attempts. I think he closed it on 8 attempts. But I know he did shoot 40% from three in a Miami season. But he was only shooting like three pointers, so it doesn't really. And the quality of shot attempts, he was taking wide open threes in
Yeah.
Miami. Like this Lakers tenure, he was taking like hezzy pulls from the logo for no reason sometimes,
Just to feel
which is
something.
an yeah, which is an interesting choice when you're one of the best rim runners in the league. But it's obviously because he's like so old now that he can't just like barrel into people every possession anymore, or else he's just gonna destroy all of his ligaments.
I've been singing
Um,
praises of Goga Batadze for like 2 years. I read a rumor that they were gonna try to send him to the Lakers, and I'm just like, please don't take my boy. Please don't take my beautiful Georgian boy. I need him. I love that man so much. He's got a great beard for one. Two, I liked in the middle of the season when we were injured, when Paolo was out, when Franz was out, we were utilizing him more. We were running more. Like we started Wendell Carter Jr. and then he was the replacement center because Mo Wagner, Torres, whatever. Um, I really like what he brings to a team. I think his ability to protect the rim but also be able to be there for putbacks and be able to uh, just pass the ball. Like he takes threes. He can hit a three. Like I'm a big Goga fan. Big Goga head, honestly. Uh,
I'm not particularly familiar with this player.
he's a backup guy. Like I'm not a star. I'm not a star lover. You know, I don't love the LeBron. I don't love the KD. I don't love the Paolo. I don't love the Jalen Brunson. I'm just like I like dudes that go out there and put up like every once in a while will put up like 20, 15, and that's like a big deal because I can cheer for that and I get excited for that. Like, well, my boy, but he's he can do it, but it's just a
Yeah,
matter of do the Magic have the space for him with
I think
Wendell Carter Jr.
Yeah, I think something that Lakers fans are gonna have to accept is that when you have this much money and this much investment wrapped up in two of your perimeter players, especially when you have like people that command the amount of salary that Luca and
Hmm.
LeBron James do, with the rest of the team, especially if they're gonna keep Austin Reeves, you're not gonna get like a fucking top you're not gonna get a top five center. You're not gonna get
No,
like
of
a
course
god
not.
tier
Especially
center.
with LeBron, like especially with your cap salary or your salary cap,
Yeah,
like their centers like okay, this is gonna sound crazy, but Christoph Porzingis, our boy Tingus Pingus, got sent to the Hawks. I feel like he could.
I didn't know
I feel
that.
like yeah, I learned that out today. I feel like a player like him could be sent to the Lakers with their salary cap. I feel like that would work because he doesn't demand a lot of like money. I actually
Yeah.
I'm gonna look up the cap or the money that they spent on him.
Kristaps Porzingis is a gamble though because
Yeah.
when you have a roster with Luca and LeBron, like if say the Lakers were to try to pursue Kristaps Porzingis, you have a roster with Luca and LeBron who are already currently two of the more injury prone players in the league in their current state.
Yeah.
And then you add Kristaps Porzingis, who's one of the most injury prone players in the league. Now you're relying on three main pieces in your starting lineup that are all very injury prone.
Hmm.
One of the main traits of every championship team over the past like 5 years has been health. Like the 2025 OKC, they were healthy pretty much the whole lineup. The Boston Celtics were healthy outside of ironically Kristaps Porzingis was was injured a little bit
We
during a
smacked
few
him in the
games.
fucking head, dude. We Goga, my boy Goga, elbowed that man right in the forehead.
There was like that picture where they cut to him like lying on the floor with blood coming out of his nose. You're
Yeah,
like,
that's
damn,
such a
right?
baller picture.
They fucked his shit up. But yeah, no, like 2024, 2025, 2023, 2022, the Warriors were entirely healthy as far as I know.
Mm.
And 2021, like the Bucks were healthy outside of Giannis. But Giannis was just on like some superhuman shit. He like hyperextended his knee and fucked up his ligament and then put up like 35 points per game in the
And just put up
finals.
35 anyway.
Yeah.
So,
That shit was beast.
what the fuck are the Bucks doing? What's their plan of action? Like, are they going to keep Giannis? Are they going to trade Giannis? What's their
I think
salary cap
honestly
look like?
with how fucked up their roster is,
It's
I really do
everywhere.
feel like cuz outside of Giannis, it's just it's just bad. Like you got like at least you had Dame the last
Hmm.
2 years, even if it like he struggled to adjust at first, and then he adjusted, and then they realized
We
like
don't want you.
well they realized that you can't there's two sides to the game of basketball. You know, like Damian Lillard was not a good defender. Obviously, we've known this for a
Hmm.
while, and they traded all of their good defenders to get him. Not all of, but like all their good perimeter defenders. So now you have like a Swiss cheese perimeter defense that's just so bad that it doesn't matter. Like Brook Lopez regressed as a defender, so he's not the rim protector that he was. And Giannis, obviously, like he can't defend the whole team by himself. Like he's one dude.
Hmm.
And I think it sucks because we're really seeing um, a huge waste of Giannis' offensive prime, if we're being honest.
I agree.
Like this is his
That dude's
best
a
year
beast.
offensively.
That dude's a
This is
beast.
his
If
best year offensively, I think, by a decent margin, especially because now you take away, you wall off the rim, you close the passing lanes, you jump in the passing lanes, you got him backed into a corner, he has to put up the shot. He now shoots like 47%, I think, on mid ranges, and not just like short middies too. He's taking ones from like just inside the 3-point line, like heavily contested, a lot of the time too. He's a good mid range shooter now.
I'm looking at
He
the Bucks
obviously can't
roster.
shoot. He obviously can't shoot the three still, but I think when you give him that mid range shot, when especially at the end of a game, that makes him so much more dangerous.
Hmm. I'm looking at Kyle
Even if that
Kuzma.
doesn't show up in the stat sheets.
I'm looking at the Milwaukee Bucks roster. Kyle Kuzma's got a punchable face, dude. I don't know what like
Kyle Kuzma,
he
Kyle
just.
Kuzma,
Why does he look like
Kyle Kuzma
that?
pisses me off. Kyle Kuzma just pisses me off. I just like I don't know everything. I don't know. I'm trying to like I know I'm gay.
You're trying
but
to
I feel like
articulate why you hate
I'm
him
trying
and
to
you can't figure
articulate
it
why I
out.
don't like Kyle Kuzma without sounding homophobic as a gay person.
You're so right. Why are you right? Why are you right? I hate that you're right. He's got that little bit of like like queer in him, just the way he like carries his face, if that makes sense. I'm clocking Kyle Kuzma. E would save Kyle Kuzma, I think. Anyway,
What do you think about?
what
Actually,
if?
I'm not gonna say that.
No, go for
What do
it.
you think about Kylee Kuzma?
There we go. Hit
Put
me
the-
up. Hit me up, Kyle.
Get the little.
Just saying.
Get the little estradiol. Nah, let me chill.
So
Anyway, what were
we
talking
covered
about? We got
everything I
heavily
wanted to.
sidetracked.
Yeah, we covered everything I wanted to cover.
We
Do you
didn't
want?
cover the KD trade really.
That's right.
We started talking about the KD trade and we got heavily sidetracked.
That's right. We did. Okay, so Katie's to the Rockets. It was more of like a little like ancillary note that I just skipped over
really
that I meant to talk
distracted.
about.
We got really distracted by
So
something.
the Suns
We
sent
got distracted by the Cavs.
the Suns sent Kevin Durant to the Rockets. So the Suns are going to be the worst team in the West next season, is what I'm understanding by this trade. Actually, I want to look at their roster now because, like, who the fuck else do they have?
They replaced Kevin Durant with Jalen Green.
They
and,
have
like,
Bol
some other
Bol. They have him listed
Oh
as
my
a
God.
starter.
Bol starting in the Big 25 is
They have him
crazy
listed
work.
as a starter.
No offense, because Bol is a talented basketball player, but like he's low key just like an opium groupie. And I've you know what, respect to that. He's just an opium groupie who's really good at basketball, but his heart's not in the game. He wants to take fit pics.
Yeah,
and post
dude.
stuff for Instagram shit.
Dude
And
just
it's
wants to
like-
be a fashionista, and I respect that.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Suns roster. We got Beal, Nick Richards, Aso Igahard, who? Devin Booker, obviously, Ryan Dunn, Royce O'Neal, Grayson
Royce
Allen.
O'Neal's
I
like-
hate Grayson Allen. I think everyone
really
hates
don't
Grayson Allen.
I think Grayson Allen is like an example of like a really dirty player, and I think the only reason why he hasn't gotten more shit for it is because the Suns haven't been good.
I haven't. I remember watching him play against the
And
Magic.
I also think there's also a certain element of I personally think when white players are dirty players, they get less recognized for it because of racial profiling within the NBA fan base, but obviously that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah, we'll save that one for the political podcast.
Yeah.
The WNBA has been going in full force. Takeaways, Caitlin Clark still doing it up.
Still doing it.
I
Caitlin
read
Clark-
I read something about a player and I was like, this is notable, and I totally forgot about it. But Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, what's she up to? Not doing much. Let's look at her numbers actually. All I know, she's pretty. She's pretty when she's not in a basketball uniform. I mean, she's pretty when she is in a basketball uniform, but
I think like Angel Reese is one of those players where like we just need to see like offensive development because defensively she's great. Rebounding, she's like one of the best of all time
Yeah,
already.
I'm looking at her
But
stats right now.
you
She's got
have to
17, 19 rebounds in one game. That's a
yeah,
lot.
but when you are like hold on.
Unfortunately, number two to Caitlin Clark, I think.
Oh yeah, no, I
I
do think
feel the annoyance she feels when you know she's asked or like talked about Caitlin Clark and how Caitlin Clark's done so much for the sport. 'Cause she's like, I've been here first.
I
She
also
thinks she's
I
just as
think that
good.
there's
Is she just as good? Eh, maybe.
I don't I think Caitlin Clark is the better player, but I
Hmm.
think there's such a racialized angle that is I mean not to get into like the political aspect of it too much, but there's like so many like there's people who don't even like watch the sport of women's basketball
Oh,
who
I know
will
what you're
just
talking
straight up
about. They just like
dick
they're
ride
team Caitlyn
Caitlin Clark.
because yeah, I know what you're talking about. I got you.
They're
I see
team
that all the
Caitlyn
time.
because they hate like they literally are just looking for an excuse to
Hmm.
hate on Angel Reese because they don't like her for some reason. We all know what the reason is, you know. But
Bro.
like it's an interesting I don't know. I think that the WNBA because of how that college rivalry blew up in that political sphere
Mhm.
has created a lot of bad attention towards the WNBA. But I do appreciate very much Caitlin Clark's game, although I do think that she does get mildly overrated from time to time because I mean she's an excellent rookie. She's one of the greatest rookies of all time.
Mhm.
I wouldn't say she's the greatest rookie of all time in NBA history, but I would say that she's definitely up there, and she's on a great path. But
Mhm.
like people saying that she's already better than Asia Wilson and Nafisa Collier, that's just delusional.
We
Like
got
we're talking about
we got Brittany
like
Griner back from Russia.
yeah,
Thank
but
God.
I'm like if you have like like you're not just okay with Caitlin Clark being like I would even say Caitlin Clark is probably around like a top 5 player in the league
Mhm.
if we're being like generous, which for a second year player is incredible. But that's not enough for some people. Some people are like, oh, she's better than Asia Wilson. No, she doesn't play defense
Yeah.
particularly well. Asia Wilson is a DPOY candidate and puts up this better scoring numbers and doesn't assist the ball as much. But like we're not counting that as a impact over being one of the best defenders in the league versus somebody who is average at best defensively. And then Nafisa Collier, it's the same story.
Mhm.
Better scorer than Caitlin Clark. You know, maybe doesn't assist the ball as much, but literally DPOY last year, like best player on a finals team that came really close to taking it last year against the New York Liberty. Like I just think it's ridiculous. I
I
just think
just
it's people are jumping the gun on it, and I think she can be the best player in the league probably soonish,
mhm.
but she's not there yet, and I think people need to accept that.
I love the WNBA website because like some of these players don't even have pictures. Like this
Yeah,
is the 12-1 Minnesota Lynx. What do you mean one of your starting players doesn't have a photo of
yeah.
themselves on the website?
The WNBA needs to like because the basketball product is so good, but the way it's presented can be a little irritating.
Oh, here's something. So
In that it can be a little I feel low effort sometimes. But the actual basketball itself is such a good product. It makes me kind of mad sometimes that it isn't presented in a
A-Rod
more
bought the
interesting way.
Timberwolves. You
Wait,
know, the
what happened?
baseball guy.
Oh, Alexander Rodriguez?
Alex Rodriguez bought the Timberwolves and the
Jesus Christ.
Lynx for $1.5 billion. He wasn't the only investor. Um, e-commerce entrepreneur Mark Lohr and him were the lead investors on it. So the Lynx and the Timberwolves have a new owner. Okay, Sam.
Or edit out the flight reacts.
A-Rod in basketball is like Michael Jordan in NASCAR. Like, why are you there?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys are they're just invested in shit. I
It's
mean,
just venture capitalists.
it's venture capitalism, if we're being honest. Like I don't know how invested he is in Minnesota basketball. You know what I mean?
What does he have in Minnesota basketball? What's his
Yeah.
what's his what's his draw for it other than I own it? I own the best team. Wow. I own the best WNBA
Yeah.
team. Anyway, I think that'll do it for this week. I think we're about wrapped up.
All right. Fire.
We'll call it a day. I'll